We're doing it.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Comic Beat Insider, the Zoom pandemic lockdown podcast that Heidi McDonald of The Beat and me, Jimmy Aquino of Comic News Insider, started back in March. I am Jimmy Aquino with the weekly podcast Comic News Insider, where we cover comics, TV, film, pop culture at comicnewsinsider.com.
And I'm Heidi McDonald. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com, the news blog of comics culture.
And I'm John Hoche, happy to be back after a little vacation away. I'm a New York actor and frequent contributor to Comic News Insider.
Yeah. And joining us.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to step on you.
Mm-mm.
I am Jamal Igle. I am the Paul Lind of podcasting, apparently. I just show up everywhere.
Oh, that is great.
Well, Jamal, you have such a great rig. I mean, look at the side. You have a microphone. You have a camera that's pointed. You're not just staring into your computer like the rest of us. So you're pretty sophisticated stuff going on here. So yeah,
we have managed since the pandemic forced the three of us, because it's my wife and daughter here every day, all day. We have managed to figure out a system for us to share equipment and resources when needed.
Nice.
So the banner rotates between my daughter doing her school online and my wife teaching her class at Parsons online.
Awesome. Well, for those that don't know, Jamal, of course, is a celebrated cartoonist in his own right. Worked on probably every other title of the big two, and his own works, The Wrong Earth and Black, and many others. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Jamal, and congrats. I just heard the movie deal for Black yesterday.
Awesome.
I just got picked up by Warner Brothers.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Wow.
Well,
Very
we'll
cool.
come to a podcast about that in the future.
Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. Listen. This is I'm happy that it's happening. It was sitting at Sony for a while, and now it's moving over to Warner Brothers. So I'm happy that things seem to be progressing, but I don't count anything until I've got tickets to the premiere, and even
you could. Yeah, because when Bloodshot was coming out, they all had tickets to the premiere.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Warner Brothers, a little segue there.
Nice.
Warner Brothers, thank you. Warner Brothers produced this little movie in 1987 called The Lost Boys. It came out July 31st, 1987, directed by Joel Schumacher. One of his best, I think, and was a critical and commercial success, grossing over $32 million against a production budget of $8.5 million. We like to go around when we see these things, like when you first saw it, where were you, what happened? I definitely saw this in the theaters at least a couple of times when it came out. This was heavily influential film, just like people were I remember everyone was so into it. I dressed up as Kiefer Sutherland as Halloween one year. I didn't dye my hair, but I had long hair back then. I had an earring. I put on eyeliner and I had a long coat. I remember us going into a Kmart that night on a Halloween party. We're going somewhere. My best friend Ted, wasn't dressed, but he has these beautiful long eyelashes. So I come in with my eyeliner and him with his beautiful eyelashes. The girl by the counter starts laughing. I was like, "What are you guys supposed to be?" Look, I'm a lost boy.
I don't know. She was really geeky. She was like, "What do you guys? Will you guys be my date for tonight?"
Right, maybe.
Yeah.
But I saw it in the theaters for sure, and many times since then. And then I watched it twice this week, and I also watched the sequel, so you wouldn't have to. So we'll talk about that later.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
Well, I did not see this in the theaters. So just, this might have come across, if anyone out there is a regular listener or watcher, they might have come across, I'm not horror isn't one of the genres that I'm really into. I don't really like zombies, vampires, very iffy. I'm not into vampires for sure. And so, not being into vampires. So I didn't see this in the theater. Of course, I, knew that it came out and it had, the cast of rising stars and everything. So I was very aware of the movie. But yeah, I probably only saw it for the first time maybe about 10 years ago. It was some kind
Really?
of
Wow.
yeah, right. It was some kind of Halloween thing, and I watched it. Of course, I enjoyed it. And then watching it again this week, enjoyed it actually a lot more. I guess when I'm watching it, knowing that I'm going to analyze it, I tend to um, put more into it. But I thoroughly so entertaining, such an entertaining film. Very great to revisit, and so much to talk about. I mean, Joel Schumacher, the two Corys, everything. The comic book shop, the beach town, everything. The Pirates Trove, yeah.
Jamal, how about you?
Well, I'm like you. I definitely saw it a couple of times in the theater when it came out. I want to say that I saw it at the old Baronet Theater up on 59th Street at least once. And then they was playing at the Kenmore in Brooklyn because that was near my house. So I saw it there a couple of times as well. And immediately ran out and got the soundtrack on tape.
Great soundtrack.
Broke the tape. Had to buy like 3 more copies because that was my like Walkman going to school, like music, like traveling music.
It's a great soundtrack.
It's an amazing soundtrack.
I still play that on occasion. Yeah,
it absolutely still holds up to this day. But the Lost Boys it came out right in the middle of the sort of like 80s vampire renaissance, because you had like the Lost Boys and Near Dark and Vamp and
like Frightened had a couple years.
Oh yeah, Frightened. Yeah, no, absolutely. So you had all these great like modern takes on vampire movies, and I think that's what really makes the Lost Boys kind of stand out in such a what I think a lot of people consider kind of a stagnant genre. When it comes to especially horror, because I'm like Heidi. Like when it comes to like vampire, like I'm so over zombies at this point. Like I can't even stand it.
I'm still in.
I can't. I just it's too much.
Watch #Alive on Netflix, that new Korean zombie one. You'll be back in.
I have. There's too much content, Jimmy. But
fair.
But the Lost Boys again. It's all those things that are in that movie set it apart.
Yeah.
From everything else that was done. We will talk about the sequels later.
Yeah. Yeah, we will. Briefly. Yeah. How about you?
To be good.
Yeah. How about you, John?
I didn't come across. I knew of the Lost Boys growing up, but and my like my sister, when she would have sleepovers, would definitely always rent it because it's like this. It's like the scary cute boy movie.
Scary, sexy, cute boy movie. Yeah.
Yeah. But I never really got into it until.
Also, John's a little younger than us. John in K-pop would be called our Maknae, the youngest of the member group.
Oh, nice.
So he's our Maknae. So, so he's like, there you go. So you didn't really. So when it came out, you were probably like 10, right? I don't know, probably 12.
I don't.
It was 87.
Yeah, so I was 7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So your parents are probably not like, let's take him to see Lost Boys.
Yeah, so like it was
R-rated. So
yeah. It was heavy, but it was on heavy rotation with my sister and like renting type things. And then I don't think I came across it until like I was like, all right, everyone's talking about Lost Boys, and I'm starting to really enjoy the horror genre. As far as like I was, really into like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and everything like that. So I was like, I need to like. It was almost for me. It was like I need to like know where things are coming from. You know what I mean?
Nice.
It's like listening to the Beatles for the first time. So I watched it on DVD for the first time.
Nice.
And yeah, it was awesome, and I still think it's awesome. So
yeah. I at one point I know I owned the DVD. I used to have a giant DVD collection, but I went to look. I'm like, oh, I must have kept this one, but I guess I sold it in that giant sale. I made a big sale one day. I was like, damn it. So so I re-rented it on Amazon. But yeah, like everyone's saying, it still holds up. It was such a great thing in the and I was into I still am into like vampire and zombies and monster stuff. I love horror, psychological horror, not so much because that sticks in my head. And then I'm sleeping and I think there's some scary ghost rolled into my bed. It freaks me out. So that stuff, not so much. But like when it's monsters, I'm like, that's fake or whatever, But But ghost girls can be real, and they're creepy. But yeah, I loved what it did with the genre because it is a comedy too. It's a horror comedy. It's got some genuinely scary moments, but it's got a lot of laughs in it. What I really liked what they did with it was like the first, and we're going to jump around a lot. Obviously, listeners are used to this. New ones, just buckle in. We're going to be all over the place, and we obviously going to spoil it. We're talking about it's 20 years, 30 years old. So get over it if we spoiled it. But what I liked the first couple of attacks were like you didn't see the vampires.
Right.
You just heard the music and that like weird, I guess, bats flying music, whatever that thing I'm talking about. And you just saw like roofs getting torn off or a car door getting torn off and somebody getting taken away. And that was really creepy.
It was the camera point of view kind of swooping in.
Absolutely. I think the frenetic nature of the way that those sequences are shot actually added to like the whole idea.
Frenetic is the perfect word. Yeah.
This was something that nobody had dealt with before. I don't think vampires had ever really been portrayed that way, or at least like a vampire attack had never been portrayed that way.
Yeah, they're more stalkerish, usually.
And that's one of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on, John. Go on.
I was just gonna say, that's kind of the beauty of like when you have a lower budget and you need to allocate money to like other things, like the fight at the end of the movie. Like they didn't have the money to constantly be showing all these graphic vampire attacks, so they were like, well, what are we gonna do? Well, they had to like work around it, work with what they got. So a lot of times like the best art or whatever comes from having like kind of a
low budget.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, they actually had cut some money out of the budget for the film. And, I mean, this wasn't Superman, which you'll believe a man could fly. We're just getting, back in the 80s, getting it to look like a guy was flying was really expensive and complicated. So instead.
Well, how hard is that? You just go.
Well, yes. If you're a movie serial, okay. Yeah. We're bringing special effects to Comic Beat Insider, and it's getting pretty.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Fair enough. So that, because I was watching, that is the one thing I was thinking was like, oh yeah, they don't have money to do it. And then I was like, also, it would have looked so cheesy. I mean, one thing that really struck me in watching it was how well it held up. I mean, the fashions were, of course, I mean, the hair. I mean, vampires. This is one of the great hair movies.
The higher the hair, the closer to God.
I mean, just everybody's hair.
I had hair down to my butt back then, and I would like
just
awkward net it, And
I mean, Corey, poor Corey Haim when he's sitting in the bathtub doing hairdos with his soap and everything. But yeah, I mean, the hair held up, and I mean, it really held up. Like the special effects were all makeup. They were all in care. They were basic for what they could do at the time, but they were so well done that, if they had done all these weird, cheesy flying effects, you're absolutely right. Like the fact that it came together and they didn't, whether it was budget or a decision not to do it, it was fine. It was your imagination made it much more.
Well, that's where Joel Schumacher's past history as a window dresser probably came into play, where he was like, I know how to dress things up and make them look better than they actually are. And interesting, you mentioned Superman. Richard Donner originally attached to this to direct it.
He would have known.
Yeah, well, but also apparently wanted a Goonies vampires. They were all little kids. Right. Laddie was a little boy. Star was a little boy, which I think became sort of Laddie in this film. And then when Joel Schumacher came on, and apparently especially Jason Patrick, Joel Schumacher was like, I want this a little more adult, a little sexier, and can we change it? And then when they pursued Jason Patrick and he kept saying no, then he finally convinced him, like, if I can have a little say so, yeah, we do need to adult this up and makes it a little more, a little more sexy, a little more romantic. And he apparently, even Kiefer says, like Kiefer Sutherland, we go by Kiefer because he kissed my hand. I'll get into that story later. He genuinely kissed my hand several times at a bar one night, but he apparently said that Jason Patrick was very instrumental in changing the script.
And he also said to hire Jamie Gertz to play Star, and
they worked at Solar Babies.
And so I mean, I did read a long interview with Joel Schumacher about this film. Obviously, he passed away. The same one. Probably the one in Empire. He passed away earlier this year. And but he did. I mean, you can still see the tension between the Goonies and the adult sexy. Or
Yeah,
the,
sure.
with Corey Feldman. So, I mean, that then we got to talk about that. Maybe
the
after
frogs?
the Frog Brothers,
yeah.
because every time they come in, they are like another movie.
Yeah.
And it's
Edgar
sort of
and
like
Allen, get it? Edgar
yeah,
Allen?
of course. It's like the Frog Brothers are good enough. Yeah. Okay. And wait a minute, you guys. Oh man, I meant to make the clip, but then a lot happened last night. I don't know if you've been watching the news.
Huh.
But,
What? No.
So when I was watching this, I thought I saw like Sloth on the ski lift or something. What is that? Did I imagine that?
Oh.
No, you didn't imagine.
So Jamal, what was that? Because I thought everybody's going to talk about this, and like I went to Google it. It's like there was a cameo by Sloth from the Goonies, and like I didn't even find it.
Yeah, I didn't even look. I honestly, I haven't seen Goonies in 100 years, so I'm like,
Jamal.
No, he's definitely there.
That's awesome. That's awesome that he is.
Nobody, but I must have not.
I don't think it's something that most people even really picked up on, because the connection between the Goonies Lost Boys connection isn't that obvious to people.
So
I think if Donner had directed it, it would have been a little bit more.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean,
direct.
because because initially it was like there's it's called the Lost Boys because Donner wanted to make vampiric Peter Pan,
right? Yeah,
right.
And then when Corey Feldman came on, then everyone was like, oh, it's going to be the Goonies with vampires. So that's kind of where the whole umbrella of the Goonies thing happened.
I think Corey Feldman might have actually thought it was the Goonies with vampires. I mean, it's not.
Well, he made that very serious.
Yeah. Well, that's not his. That wasn't his fault.
No, I'm sure he was directed that way.
Joel Schumacher actually told him to go to the video store and rent every Sylvester Stallone and Chuck Norris movie. And he just said, like, that's what I want you to be. And you're not in a comedy, like you're in an action movie.
And
I think Christian Bale saw that, and then years later when he got Batman, he goes, "That's the voice. That's the voice I'm gonna use." So thank you, Corey Feldman, for creating Christian Bale's Batman voice.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So we do see the Goonies side here at some points, and the interview with the vampire, because I think Anne Rice is probably one of that she was huge in the 80s, and so that she really did kind of reinvent vampires to give them this sexier, new, more youthful. And everybody does say Lost Boys, huge influence on Joss Whedon for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I mean, there's tons of things.
Well, they talked about how David's look, Kiefer Sutherland's character, that he directly made Spike sort of like David's look, which was both sort of a look of off the Billy Idol, but still he's like, oh yeah, that definitely influenced me.
But also the aesthetics of the vampires in Lost Boys, Joss Whedon pretty much directly.
Yeah, even the makeup. When you think about
I mean, Spike is Mike, is David. David. Yeah.
What I think is oh, sorry. Go ahead, Heidi. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say. I mean, okay, just to work through the movie a little bit.
Yeah, so I was about to go back to the beginning.
Let's go back to the beginning. So, this actually also obviously came a lot later, but it's the classic family with a divorced mother moves to a coastal town, a seaside town sort of setup. And, it reminded me a little bit of Raina Telgemeier's Ghosts, because they moved to a
Oh, God, I didn't think about that.
Same town, right? But and other movies I'm sure we could think of. But anyway, we see Diane Wiest, who's so good in this. She's just coming off
her Oscar win. Yeah,
she's awesome, of course. Like everybody's awesome in this movie. And she's got her two boys, Sam and Michael, which
Jason
Michael
Patrick and Corey Haim. Yeah.
Yes, and they are walking around Santa. What is
Clara
it?
Or Carla?
Carla.
Carla. There you go. Thank you, John.
Santa Carla.
Great postcard.
And the opening with this again, which was referenced in Us. The beginning with the Seaside Carnival, another classic setting, and walking around and
they drive past a billboard and you see the back where it says "Murder Capital of America."
Yeah.
But then
what I thought was that I'd never noticed, and I've known him since I was a kid. I never noticed that until just now. I rewatched it there, that the lead character, Jason Patrick, is named Michael Emerson. And I'm like, oh my God, I never, when I saw that, I knew him in 1987. I'm like, how did I never make that connection? And I'm actually we're recording our 1100th episode special tomorrow, and he's coming on as a guest. I'm like,
nice.
He's for that. I'm gonna have to ask him.
Yeah,
I never made that connection before.
Well, you'll never forget his name is Michael, because one thing I did notice is they say the name Michael on an 18.
Oh,
yeah, 100 times.
118 times.
Holy
yes.
cow.
It's one Michael every minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's not even in the scene. They're just like, Michael? Oh,
yeah, they do. They just sit around saying his name. I think Kiefer Sutherland's entire dialogue is Michael.
Yeah,
it's like Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. But anyway, we meet these glamorous young teen dandies with hair to the sky, led by Kiefer Sutherland, and then Alex Winter is also one of them.
Yeah.
Alex Winter with the curly mullet.
Like, yeah.
How do you pull that off?
Who I think's only role was to, if you notice, every scene Alex Winter's in, he's the last to leave and smirks almost right at the camera. He's walking, he's like,
yep.
It's great. I love it.
Then he delivers the maggoty Chinese food.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was sort of like,
he
seemed kind of like his right hand. Seemed like sort of like David's right hand. He's like the one that helps out a lot.
He was his personal assistant.
Right. Yeah. What I noticed also in the beginning was when we see all on the boardwalk during the day, we see all the missing children posters, and then later on you're like, oh, and I didn't think about it till like after the second or third watch recently. I was like, were they just fucking eating children left and right? I'm like, that's messed up even more so.
Well, like in a little bit of research, and obviously this is a made up town, but like,
sure.
Like and I don't know. I don't know if that billboard was already up there with the whole entitlement of the murder capital, but like Santa Cruz had multiple serial killers like throughout the years prior to them filming in Santa Cruz.
Oh.
So they were like, oh man, we just had all these serial killers. Do we really want this movie? And then they just filmed I think the first Dirty Harry movie on the pier a few years before. And they're like, oh great. It's all violent.
Oh my God. I didn't know
So it really wasn't working for them to like get all the family oriented people that they wanted there. But doing a little bit of research, like at the time, like they were kind of going for like this place where there's like these transient kids could come, and like there's like some kids from like alternate like the
universes. Oh no.
Yeah, alternate universe kids and stuff. But there was like kids from like all over the world and all walks of life and stuff.
Okay.
Very transient.
Still, but they're eating kids. Come on. I mean, that's
well, they're like runaways and stuff like that.
Yeah. Easy pickings, in other words. Yeah. And not to be missed and hardly traceable, right?
But it's definitely kind of a California tradition, though. The creepy beach town. I mean, from Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett, all the hard-boiled novels on up. Ross McDonald. I mean, he had his little Santa Teresa. There's always something wrong going on in these
little towns.
Yeah. So we see anyway, but we learned that Michael is, it's summer. He's not in school. He doesn't have any money. He's struggling to fit in. And they also, I loved Grandpa. Oh my God.
Yes.
Completely forgotten about taxidermy Grandpa, played by Bernard Hughes.
Yes, Bernard Hughes. Yeah, so good.
Oh my God. I mean, it's a little psycho nod, but he's like, the house is filled with he's got this great house and it's filled with stuffed animals, and he's always giving Sam, played by Corey Haim.
Like your introduction is him playing dead to his family. It's like, it's so great. It's so great. And just a little nods he has. He has such great lines in there. And
then we see Michael pursuing this beautiful girl at the beach.
Let's talk about that. So
please, we need to take a moment and talk about Tim Capello.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
We're getting there.
Oh my God.
So we get to, I'm setting it up. So we visit the pier during the day. They're trying to find jobs, whatever, fine. Miraculously, Diane Wee's character finds a job with Max Herman. Or Edward Herman's character Max at the video store. Great. Okay, Jason's looking around Jason Patrick's looking. Fine. We come back at night because kids got to be kids, and we open up on this freaking scene of Tim Capello. Is it Capello? Yeah. Capello as the sax player, and singing. I still believe. Oiled up, just muscle bound.
Yes.
And he's a famous, he played with Tina Turner for 15, 20 years before that.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch. I did a deep dive into Tim. I'm sure you did too. I could probably tell a little bit about, but it's like
he's still, or at least he was. He was still like touring and performing and
because of the
resurgence
of Lost Boys, he started getting calls from conventions to appear, and because of that, he was able to make his first album ever. Like, what was it 2018? I think he made his first album.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and like it's just what a weird choice, but yet awesome to just kind of focus on. It doesn't seem like a lot of screen time. It does and it doesn't.
It's a pivotal scene, though.
Yeah, it is.
Like the boy meets girl and a muscle-bound sex.
Well, and the guy, but man, we so should have learned how to screen share for this, because like if we could throw up some pictures of this at this point, like I said, I actually was going to do it, but some things happened last night. But wait, you know what? Let me jump back just a minute, and I'm not saying this in any kind of a negative way, but as we're seeing the beach town, we keep coming back to the boys, and there's a few shots of girls jiggly butts, but come on, Joel Schumacher was very out, open, openly gay, and I mean it's it's a very homoerotic, very campy, and I mean it's right there out in the open, and it's awesome. I mean it's called The Lost Boys, and they're all super hot.
There's nothing not awesome about Tim Capello. He is
there are 4 hot, teenage
models.
Vampires living in a cave together.
Yeah.
in
their own bat cave. Yeah,
exactly.
They sleep together. They they hang out. They do drink blood, each other's blood or somebody's blood. They all drank. There's definitely a lot of that to be said, and we can get into that in a bit. But it's like you definitely as we see Jason Patric, we see Michael C. Starr, and I was a huge Jamie Gertz fan. I had a giant crush on her, as I think a lot of us did. And her entrance was akin to me from my favorite, almost as good as my favorite entrance ever in film by a woman, Gloria Graham in It's a Wonderful Life. When she walks by and they're all like, this whole thing I only wear, but I don't care how I look. And then Carl sits there. So Star walks in and just mesmerized. You see this, and then they make the eye. They clearly have this little attraction, and then eventually meet up later. And that's when we meet up with, and we think at first oh, David and Star are together, but then right away David's like, come with us, come hang with us. So there's this seduction of not just Michael and Star, but also David and Michael. They're clearly Michael's very okay, I'll come
mesmerized.
They're clearly very mesmerized and attracted to each other in some way. So it's like David wants him along. Michael's like, all right, I'll hang out with you guys. Why not?
Oh, who wouldn't? Then they go to this. Not only is it the Bat Cave, but what that reminded us. So they're like, oh yeah, it was a hotel that slid off during an earthquake. Which I guess there was something really. They had this idea, but to me, come on, was that not Pirates of the Caribbean?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. It was a treasure trove.
It was the treasure. It was so the treasure trove.
But it's going back to the whole Goonies connection
and Lost Boys.
And,
where the Lost Boys live.
Yeah, Peter Pan.
Yeah, you're right there, Jamal. That was another Goonies. It was like the Goonies had just gotten a little bit older, for sure, for real.
And I'm also convinced that Marco and Paul, which is Marco, of course, is Alex Twinter, and Paul was the late Brooke McCarter. He died
he was the one with the big blonde hair.
Yeah. I'm convinced they were lovers because they always seem if you watch scenes, they're always very close and playful. They sort of tap each other here and there. And when they go near the end, not to jump ahead, Paul's ready. You killed Marco, he's pissed off, you killed my boy, and they slept next to each other when they were hanging upside down. I think you got a little Lestat and Louis vibe going on there. We're definitely lovers. But yeah, there definitely is a lot of homoeroticism there. And like I said, it makes total sense because it's this very almost fluid type thing, vampirism.
I think it's definitely cool for the time. I mean, obviously, The Interview with a Vampire was highly homoerotic, and that was part of its huge appeal. Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess people were a little bit more okay with this kind of. I mean, it was front and center. I mean, it wasn't like it was being hidden at all. So, I
mean, the cool thing though is this movie came out during Reagan's regime, as it were, and he was blatantly he didn't give a crap about you know, the LGBTQ community
Yeah, with
at
the
all.
AIDS crisis.
So
Well, yeah.
So it's pretty awesome that, like, you know, you could have a movie like this come out at that time with like four dudes excellently excellently coiffed,
sure.
and it's a family. It's like a family unit, you know.
Yeah,
It was an alternate family.
Yeah. But it is cool that you do see the seduction. David is like luring him in. It's sort of showing off like, oh, we're hazing you into our frat. But it's really a little more than that. It's like David is like, I want this dude with us, and Michael's like, I kind of want to be with you guys, you know, and hang out. You know, you never grow old, you never die. It's like that sounds cool. And there's some good-looking dudes, and I can hang out. Yeah.
Well, like a lot of the movies that we revisit here, you know, that the obvious, you know, there's an obvious storyline, you know, to stay up late, never sleep, and, you know, live forever. And which I just totally butchered the movie's tagline, but you know, there's a lot of other, like, I loved the relationship between Sam and Michael, the two brothers.
Yeah. It was nice. It was, you know, they're sort of, because I guess in the movie, Jason's character is probably 18, maybe 18, and then Sam's character's what, 12? I don't know, maybe.
No,
13. No, he's probably 13 or 14.
No, he's 13 or 14.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 13 or 14. You're right.
He goes. He's flexible. He goes up and he goes down. He goes.
He does seem like he's like 8 years old in the bathtub, and then he does seem
he traverses. Right, he traverses the Goonies world from the. He's the guide from the Goonies world to the Interview with the Vampire world, I guess.
Well, you know, as a guy with a 12-year-old daughter, that's not that far off. That vacillation, honestly, like that vacillation in attitude. Is really present with kids around that age. Like I watch even like slightly older friends of our kids, the parents with kids who are like 13, 14, and it's kind of the same thing. There are times when they act younger, they want to be more playful, and then times when they're trying to be adults. And that's the line that's Sam's thing, is when he walks into the comic book shop for the first time and meets the frogs, he's like trying to prove how cool and hip and LA he is in comparison to this, you know, sleepy little beach town that he's been forced to move to. And he's found his tribe. You know, he's found these two guys who know as much about comic books as he does.
Which, funny enough, is the name of the sequel, The Tribe.
Do you guys, while we're talking about the comic book store,
let's get into that.
Can you guys at all break down?
Yes, I wanted to do this. Yes.
He was saying, like, I was like,
Sam's speech. Jamal, you're probably, and Heidi, is he right about like the Lloyd Lamar shouldn't be next to the whatever? I wish I would have written down the whole.
But it all made no sense.
Well, first off, why would you have old issues of Superman racked on a thing? They should be in a cardboard box.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a Batman 14, it would not be on a fucking rack. It'd be like
there's also only 4 of them in existence, you know.
And he apparently owns a Batman 14, is what we're led to believe, because we find in the sequel that he does.
He said there's only 5 in existence, and he's looking for the other 4.
Yeah, so he owns one. His family doesn't have jobs yet. Sell your fucking Batman 14 to feed your family for 6 months or so. Are you serious? I was so angry. I'm like, what? How could this kid afford a Batman 14? How can he afford all those clothes he's got too? It's like he's got these little
priorities, man. It's priorities. Why do you think they're broke? Why do you think they're broke?
That's true. Fair enough. There you go. Fair enough. You're right. But yes, I'm back to what John was saying. Do you remember the speech where he's like, you can't have the Superman with Lloyd Lamar next to this?
I don't remember it verbatim, but I do remember, like, but again, like I was saying, with kids that age, there's that kind of like, I want to prove how how adult I know my stuff and whatever, you know, but it felt that scene felt very true to form, and then they start talking about vampires and
well, the Frog Brothers nodded like, oh, he's right. Like they were like, yeah, he knows his stuff. But I'm with John. I want to know, is that actually accurate? That speech accurate? Like, no. I need to write the speech down. I'm gonna.
I'm gonna use it as a monologue next time.
I just love. You know, Mother and Father Frog in the background, just kind of burnt out, not paying attention.
No, they're not burned out. They're dead. I'm telling you, they're not alive. We never see them move. They're dead. I'm telling you.
Another psycho nod. Maybe Grandpa had been there.
They're weekend at Bernie's in them. They're like, we're running a shop. They've stuffed them. They filled them with whatever they do for Egyptian corpses so they don't smell. And like, yeah, they're dead. I'm just telling you, we never see them alive. But yeah, that comic, I love that opening comic scene is
So,
great.
so of course it was filmed at Atlantis Fantasy World, which was a comic shop owned by Joe Ferreira, who's still in the business. Jimmy, I don't know if you go to Eisner's, but he presents the
On
spirit of
occasion, yeah.
he presents the Spirit of Retailing Award at the Eisner's every year. You could see him
Nice.
playing a pinball machine in the scene, and
Cool.
as the oldest, if John might be the youngest, but I'm the oldest, and I do remember when this movie came out, there was all my friends who owned comic shops were excited that there was a scene set in the comic shop, and it was kind of being presented. It was presented a little bit like, oh man, can you believe this? But it was also like, oh, it's just part of this is part of our world. Comics are part of the world of a 13-year-old boy, and it's fine.
Yeah, but it does introduce, obviously, it's not just there for any reason. Introduces an important element, as Jamal was saying. The Frog Brothers like, but vampires. And like, here's a comic about it, and they're like, he's like, well, I don't like horror comics. He's like, you like this one, you might learn something, So it is an important plot point, to have that comic book store there as well, not just a set dressing. But that I love. So then we get like a little scene where, because we see right before then, we see those surf Nazis who like steal a couple comics from the rack outside.
Right.
Yeah. Why would you put a rack out of a boardwalk? Come on,
especially a spinner.
Yeah.
Like, why would you leave a spinner rack unguarded
right out there, just like people could take? And so we see a scene later where the head guy, like, of that little gang, and his girlfriend, she's laughing. You know what? I love me some Sad Sack, but she's laughing way too hard at a Sad Sack comic.
Laughing at the Sad Sack. Oh.
And listen, I love me some Harvey. It was Harvey comics, right? Sad Sack.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love me some Harvey comics. Big Richie Rich was one. Richie Rich and Archie were my first comics, and I love that whole Harvey world. And Sad Sack was very funny, but not that funny.
But then when the car is blown up, we see that it's full of comic books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the whole back, like this surf Nazi, chick was like apparently sitting in the back of the car reading Sad Sack comic books all the time. I mean, that's a pretty sad fate.
Knocking her boyfriend off, or get off me! Don't try to kiss me. I'm reading Sad Sack is fulfilling my needs right now.
Just before we move on, I do want to point out that in the credits they actually are surf Nazis. So,
yeah, no, you're right.
Like, we're just like not pulling that name out.
No.
That was another 80s thing. There was actually a movie called Surf Nazis Must Die. Well, this is another 80s Cali thing.
Yeah. There's a novelization of the Lost Boys, and they have a bigger role in it, and they're called Surf Nazis in there. And also, weirdly, I don't know why I never thought of it as a kid, but it was like, I grew up in Florida, and on the beach, we had a bunch of surf shops, and one of our surf shops, I remember as a kid, they had this thing where one of the owners like made these Surf Nazi T-shirts with the freaking symbol, and I remember thinking like, isn't that not right? Like, that seems weird to me. I'm like 8 now. I didn't really understand it, but I was just like, oh, I remember like some of the kids were wearing them, and I was like, didn't we learn that that's not good or something like that? And like, it was a weird. Didn't last very long, I don't think so. But yeah, they are called that in the credits, and also in the novelization they have it too. But yeah, so that's sort of that's the second sort of attack we see, right? The one of them, because the first one was
the first one's at the beginning of the movie.
The security guard,
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but then Michael goes home after Kiefer Sutherland has said his name about 80 times, and
made him drink his blood.
Made him drink his blood.
Dangle off the side of a bridge.
Which is a great scene, by the way. The scene with the train, that's the most kind of scene where they're.
That's a great seduction scene, because they're all jumping off. And he's like, "Michael, come on, Michael."
Michael.
I don't know if I should. And then he does, okay, I'll do it. And he jumps. And like, yeah. And he's like, all right, what the hell? And like,
and then this fog, they all drop off into the fog. And, I mean, of course, by now we figured out that they're vampires, but it's still like, it's just like the mystery of the fog. And then we hear them down in the fog. And what are they saying? They're saying, Michael.
Well,
come on, Michael, join us.
What I thought was interesting in the Bat Cave was where they get Chinese food, as John was mentioning. And then I thought it was interesting, their little vampire lore, things they did that were different, where I'd never seen, where I know a vampire can mesmerize you and all this other stuff, but it's like where they can make you see things.
Right.
So he made him think he was eating,
it's like
maggots,
hypnosis
instead of
almost.
rice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then worms instead of noodles. And which was a good setup because then when he drinks the blood, Star's like, "It's blood." He's like, "Yeah, well, I thought that was maggots and worms, and it wasn't." So glug glug glug, And he's like not caring. So I thought that was really an interesting take.
On this rewatching for the show. You know what? Michael deserves everything that came to him because he was eating rice with a fork.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
Yes,
Be a vampire.
Absolutely. That's right. Even Kiefer had the chopsticks. Exactly.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing I think the Frog Brothers said, so it was sort of a throwaway line, and I wish we would have in one of the sequels gotten some of this, or even somewhere where one of the frogs, probably Corey, because he had all the lines. Ghouls and werewolves are in the city council. Do you remember that line?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, there's more than vampires here. What's up? Are we gonna see it? And I was like waiting to see, are we gonna see anything? And we didn't, because
So as Michael is, half vampire after he's drunk, David's blood. Now he's half vampire, like Star and Laddie. Like Laddie is like this little feral child, from Mad Max.
Little 10, 11-year-old.
Yeah, wearing a little, like Sergeant Pepper outfit and running around.
I'm like a
okay,
Civil War coat. I'm like,
all right, whatever. I mean,
was that fashionable then? I'm like,
he was in the marching band. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
There you go.
It
More
was.
No,
it was.
He was ahead of his time. It's very My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
It was more Mark. You're right. It was more Mark.
So there's a little parallel storyline. I mean, we're still, like I said, we're still seeing the story of the family moving to the town, and the mom's got a job at this video store where Max, played by Edward Herrmann, is the owner, and he's romancing her. Now, of course, in today's, that's horrible that he's trying to date one of his employees, but we're actually rooting for mom maybe to meet this nice guy, and the kids keep breaking, ruining things as they got this crazy idea that Edward Herrmann is a vampire.
Yeah.
And
that's
now
a great scene, the dinner scene.
Which suddenly it becomes a John Hughes movie. And yet it doesn't hurt. Like there's all these different tones in the film that a lot of times when it's jarring when there's so much like unevenness in tone, but in this movie it worked really well. Like Schumacher really held it all together.
Well, going back to that Richard Donner connection, when you think about Superman, the movie is structured very much the same way, where you're dealing with different tones, like 3 different movies. You go from hard sci-fi to kind of like a Americana tone to sort of an action comedy with the Metropolis scene. So it's kind of like the same thing. They were very good at mixing those tones and and having the goofy alongside the much more seductive, sexy, vampire stuff. But it was nicely balanced. I don't feel like there was ever a time in the movie where it came out where they did something that was more on the comedy side that it felt that out of place.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Looking at the way that, because they set up the structure for it from the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, especially we have the grandpa playing dead. Yeah, right away they're like, that sets it up. But going back to Heidi said about the half vampire thing, that is an important thing because until you make your first kill, that's when you become a full vampire.
Right.
So that's why Star and Laddie have held off for who knows how long. Maybe they're pretty recent. Maybe they've been. I'm curious how long they've been there.
Well, Laddie was pretty recent because his face was on.
Oh,
the
that's
milk
right.
carton.
You're right. He's on the milk carton. You're right. Yeah. I'm curious how long the gang's actually been around. How old they really are.
I would imagine they're pretty old.
Pretty old, yeah.
I think so.
Now, just as you know, we spoil all our movies here on Comic Beat Insiders. So, big old spoiler about to come. If you haven't seen Lost Boys, you'll want to stop watching this, listening right now. All right. Now, when you first saw this movie, did you think that Edward Herrmann was not all he seemed?
Oh, absolutely.
I knew there was something. I didn't know if he was. I just knew there was something up with him, because especially with his dog, with Thorn. I'm like, okay. As soon as Thorn came in the picture, I was like, okay, something's up. Something with Matt,
Because I thought. Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's like, and then I thought was interesting. I didn't catch it till later because he brings up again later. When he's coming in for dinner, he stops and says, "Well, I'm not coming in. You're the man of the house. You must invite me in."
Yeah.
Flat out says it. And then later, I never invited a vampire into your home, you silly boy. But then I thought that was strange too, because I guess she doesn't come inside, but like that one scene with Star, she flies up to the window.
Right.
Right
She does
in,
come
but
inside. No, she comes inside.
yeah, she's in. I'm like, but she wasn't. But I guess.
But I
they were
wonder it's
friends?
because
were
at that
connected?
point Michael is half vampire, so
Uh,
maybe that's why she can do that.
Sure. Why not? Uh-oh. Jimmy froze.
Oh no, I blew
Oh
his
no.
mind.
Wow. Jimmy froze up. Wow. And it's like I'm screenshotting this because it's a good one. So well, Jimmy will be back to join us, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a swerve though. When he had the dog, I thought maybe it was going to be, a classic Suki Sook House, vampires versus werewolves. I mean, Twilight. I mean, I thought it was going to be are you back,
sorry,
Jimmy?
I went out for a second. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But especially when she went over to take when she thought Max wasn't feeling well, and she went over to the house during the day, and Thorne basically was ready to rip her throat out.
Yeah.
Which why did what that part I wasn't quite certain why the dog wanted to kill her.
Well,
to protect
yeah.
Oh, because he was asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the guard dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought was interesting too is Nanook, the Emerson's dog, was a very deus ex machina, or a dog ex machina,
right?
Because several times he just comes out of nowhere and saves the day. Like he attacks Michael to save Sam. He knocks the other vampire into the garlic holy water. All this stuff. I'm like, well done, Nanook. That's what I'm talking about. Little dog ex machina.
Like dog actors in the 80s had it the best. They always had the best. They had the best roles in the 80s for dogs.
100%.
Benji, Max the Bionic Dog.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Benji's great for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
And also like at with the dog, that was one thing that I was like, no way. It's like, when they're battening down for the final attack and they're like, at the last minute, oh crap, I left the dog outside. No.
Yeah. He wouldn't have left the dog outside.
Dumb kids,
Come on, dumb kid. Well, I don't know. People, you know what? In this world we live in the world of 2020, anything is possible. I have no disbelief left. I have no boundaries of what can and cannot be true.
So we get down to where like the Frog Brothers and Michael and them go to find the lair, and that's when we lose
Alex Winter.
Bill out of Bill and Ted. We lose Alex Winters. We're like, no way, dude. And because Corey Feldman takes him out and kills him. And then that's when they're like, that's why they come to the Emerson's home to attack them.
Which we see the Frog Brothers, despite their, one of them doesn't even talk. Only Corey Feldman actually talks. Alan doesn't say a word, and he
has a couple lines, but that's
didn't do anything really. But we learned
sequels, I think.
But we learned, what they weren't, because I thought, oh my God, they're gonna completely.
They weren't completely inept, right?
Yeah, they weren't inept.
They were inexperienced, but they weren't. They knew a couple things, but I don't think they'd actually practiced it yet.
Yeah.
So that was good. So that's where they get to the house, and it's the whole gang, except for the mom. Of course, she's on a date with Max, and and Grandpa's out with the widow Johnson because they so they bat down the hatches and prepare for the fight, and then of course they attack, and probably one of the best lines in the movie happened. Death by stereo. Great. So the big battle, we get that big face off. It's that big lovers face off between Michael and David. Like, you cheated on me. No, I didn't. And and it's a really great fight. And I think to be said about they both are so great. Like, they both have been working, and obviously Kiefer was from a well-known acting family, but Jason Patrick was still relatively, they're both like 21, I think. They both were so good in this. And like Kiefer doesn't have that many lines, but he has such a presence.
Yeah,
like you remember him because of the way he plays it, and the way he just like the intensity, this looks he gave. Even like I got shivers. I was like, ooh.
They were also really good friends off screen too.
Yeah. Oh, were they? Okay,
yeah,
that's good. Yeah, it probably helped a lot too. Yeah, but and also the fact that we said Jason brought in Jamie, they knew each other as well. So it was a really good camaraderie.
And of course, the Coreys. This is where the two Coreys
first time.
And when you read about what was
With
going
having
on.
him, yeah,
What
with
was
both of
going
them,
on?
yeah.
Yeah, but both of them. I mean, Corey. I mean, they were only like 14 or 15 years old, and they were, Corey
16,
Feldman
yeah.
was doing. Yeah, I mean, they were kids, and they were doing
Yeah.
coke and
Yeah.
drinking already, and
Yeah.
Joel Schumacher, or apparently
Taken
Corey
advantage
Feldman
of.
came to the set, high one day, and then Schumacher said, "You can't do this," and he says he didn't do it, and Schumacher he's talked about this movie quite a bit. There's a lot to, and he said that Feldman was behaved himself after that on the set, but
Yeah.
I mean, Corey Haim,
both were really good. I thought Haim was really good in it.
They were. I mean, Corey Haim is like, so just the age thing. Like, I was too old to go see this movie for heartthrob purposes.
Right.
I mean, everyone was too young for me, and of course, I always thought Jason Patrick was cute as a button, and Kiefer Sutherland, obviously. And but I was too young. But I mean, the two Coreys became like, they had this whole series. They were huge heartthrobs.
License to Drive and
and very tragically, I mean, Corey Haim just suffered from
drug addiction.
Drug addiction his whole life. And then Corey Feldman in recent years has just been talking about how they were both sexually abused and sexually assaulted.
That's still very disputed by Corey Haim's mother, that Feldman was actually much a part of it as he's claiming to be. She's claiming it just happened to her son and not to him, and he's like, no, it happened to me. So who knows what the story is?
I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised about it.
I wouldn't either.
It's really sad. And I mean, Corey Haim, he's so good. I mean, he's so charming. He's really good. I mean, obviously, he's a little teen heartthrob in the making, but he's really charming, likable. I mean, you can see why he became a star. Like, both of them became stars. And like, it's interesting because the three of you, or Jimmy and Jamal going to see it as kids. I mean, I guess it was more like,
17,
and
I guess,
and Jamal, you're saying, or John, you're saying your sisters, of course. I mean, I can see why girls love this movie, but I guess boys liked it. Just
we did.
Aspirational also.
I dressed up as Kiefer Sutherland.
Jamal, did you have any fashion? Were you a teen goth?
No.
Vampire?
Well, I became a goth later, but
as I said, I thought you did have a little goth phase.
You waited for the crow to come out.
I want to hear this story later off air.
No, I became a goth later, but I think it was, for me, like I was saying earlier, it's that period really, because we're talking 87, 80, 88. So I was a sophomore, junior in high school. So like, and going to art and design with all the other kids who were into superheroes and horror movies and comics, like, you couldn't, like, that. I mean, like Jimmy, I didn't dress up as one of the Lost Boys, but freshman year we had a Halloween party and I dressed up as Chris Sarandon's character from Fright Night.
Nice.
Yeah. So, you had that was the thing, like the hip modern vampire thing. That was the thing that permeated. And then, you started to get, because, like, you guys remember the TV show Werewolf from like the early days of Fox?
Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah,
I don't think so.
With Chuck Connors, he was like the evil. So like that whole, like,
Chuck Connors,
there was like this whole resurgence of modernized horror with the vampire movies, and with like the TV show Werewolf, and with like An American Werewolf in London, and all, like, this sort of modernization of horror that was happening at the time. And you couldn't help but get into it. And like The Lost Boys, it's such a well done movie. And we were talking about the soundtrack. The soundtrack makes this movie
so good.
Work. This soundtrack ties the entire thing together. And that's one of the things.
My Little Sister is so iconic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, like, talking about Cry Little Sister, like, you hear it so many times. Like, it starts right away when the movie opens. You start hearing, but you hear the chorus of Cry Little Sister.
Yeah.
I thought the greatest thing, every time I watched this, when Michael and Star are like, consummating whatever, they're getting it on.
Whatever half vampires.
Which by the way, Laddie was in the room somewhere. What the hell? Not cool, guys.
Well, he was asleep.
He was under the bed, or he was hanging from the ceiling. But that's the first time you actually hear, like, the song before the chorus. So it does sound like a different song, and you're like, oh, this is like this sex song. This is different. And then all of a sudden, it like right when the chorus comes in, it's like a very important point in the scene, and you're just like, it's the build up to that chorus yet again is like so incredibly well done.
It was really well done. Yeah.
The Echo and the Bunnymen cover of the
God,
People Are Strange. Oh,
what a great cover.
And
of course, Saxman Tim Capello's I Still Believe is great.
Yeah.
Then Roger Daltrey doing Don't Let the Sun Come Down.
Daltrey.
Oh my God, so
I'd forgotten that it was him doing it because it's like such a great cover. But yeah, no, it's like prime 80s. I mean, this movie is really just classic 80s, but it's to me, it was, like I said, it held up so well. There's a real timeless quality to it that I was surprised by, to be honest. I thought, if you watch those John Hughes movies, they, there's certain timelessness, but I don't know. They're so rooted in the Reagan era sociology.
But I think part of it is the way that it was filmed also. Like,
yes.
It doesn't have the graininess that a lot of 80s movies had, even at the time. Like, there's, I think a lot of it is the cinematography, the color grading, like everything that just kind of gives it sort of like an ethereal glow. The scene on the beach, at the carnival where you first hear To the Shock of Miss Louise, and just like carnival lights and people running around the boardwalk and just like that whole, I get chills.
It's beautifully shot. Wasn't the cinematographer the same guy who shot, like, he's a very famous cinematographer and I can't remember his name, but he did like The Godfather or something.
Hold on, I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, because this movie is beautifully shot.
We touched on the ending, but let's get to the ending. So we get the final fight we have there, and then everyone, it's like we find out Max is actually the head vampire, and just as he's about to, like, he has little Corey Haim, little Sam around him, he's gonna kill him, and he tells Diane Weiss, like, Lucy, like, hey, join me and we can be the Bloodsucking Brady Bunch, or your kids.
Don't fight me, Lucy.
Yeah. Don't fight me, Lucy.
It's easier if you don't fight.
Yes. I never changed my mind about that. That was great. So, just as he's about to bite her, I guess, to sort of turn her half vampire, I don't know, and turn her, Grandpa to the rescue.
Oh yeah!
Out of nowhere, we hear the familiar horn of his little truck.
So to interrupt real quick, the cinematographer on The Lost Boys was Michael Chapman, who also did Raging Bull, The Fugitive, Taxi Driver,
that's
Suspect Zero, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like,
nice.
I mean,
he's one of the great cinematographers.
Absolutely.
So Grandpa to the rescue. He's got all these large, giant spikes that he's building a fence with. And one comes through and takes out Max, and then meanwhile Jason Patrick had taken out, David, or has he? Mm-hmm. And then the mom finally realized, oh shit, you guys weren't lying. There are vampires here. What the hell?
But she takes it really well.
Yeah, she does.
I mean, again, I'm not, if we talk on here about it, how now, if you look back 6 months, how'd you think we'd be taking it? I guess we're taking it pretty well, and I think Lucy is like, I really loved her character because she's not a stupid mom at all. No. She's like trying to get, trying to meet a nice guy. And when she's trying to set boundaries with her sons and she's trying to be a good mother and call Michael on his shit. And, when her father destroys the house, she comes home, the house is destroyed. Her father busts in through the door and kills this vampire who she wanted to date with a stake. She's sort of like, I guess you guys are right. Something was going on. Wow.
Lucy is very harried through the entire movie.
Yeah, a harried 80s mom.
Exactly. You could tell through the whole the way that Diane Weiss plays the character. She's just barely holding it together. She's just really just wants to make things work. She's had to move home. She's got 2 teenage sons.
She also just got back from a date. She might have had a couple glasses of wine.
Exactly.
Really good meal.
You know what? I think Johnny done. They may have done some shots. We don't know.
You never know.
He comes home. There's dead bodies all over the place. The house is a wreck.
Probably smells a lot like garlic.
Max is just strolling through like, oh well.
So we get that last scene. So everyone's dead that should be dead, We get Corey Haim on the back of his brother, Jason Patrick. The mom, they're covered in soot. And Grandpa's just going to get a root beer. And she's like, Dad, what's up? And the great line.
Oh,
The
I couldn't.
line
Great
of all lines.
Yes. One thing about living in Santa Carla, I never could stomach all the damn vampires. And the last look of the three of them is genius. It's so good. Like also, let's say, why did the grandpa not warn them? Why did he let them move there?
Dude, he's heavily sedated the whole time.
And like
high on cookies,
but,
like double stuffed Oreos and
true.
Dr. Pepper.
But yet I also want to see a prequel to a young grandpa who was probably a vampire hunter with the Widow Johnson. I have a whole theory.
That's
so
the movie I want.
So Widow Johnson and her then alive husband and grandpa were all best friends, hanging out, and they were vampire hunters. Widow Johnson's husband got killed by a vampire, maybe turned. So then that's when Grandpa swooped in, like, let's hook up and be better, and they probably had to kill him. They probably had to kill him.
You got to write that.
Yeah, you do. But Grandpa's fascination with taxidermy shows he was already well into this, supernatural life. So I think he just came to accept the vampires. I don't think he thought, it was just something you didn't talk about, Like, he might have seen Michael staying out all night and wearing sunglasses during the day and maybe said something.
Yeah.
No, his eyes were on the city council.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
We're going to get into the sequels in the comics really quick.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like they did set up all these little elements. I mean, it was rife for a sequel, and we never saw David, played by Kiefer Sutherland. His body didn't.
Not in the not in
so tell us
comics
about the sequels, Jimmy, because you were the one brave enough, as you always are.
I watched them. I also read the Tim Seeley comic that came out a few years ago. I know there was another comic earlier than that I didn't read. But real quick, I just want to say, did you know apparently Ben Stiller was up for the role as Michael?
Yeah.
Because Jason, what a different movie that would have been. My God. Like, I don't see Ben Stiller as sexy. No offense, Ben. I'm sure he listens.
Hey, man.
No,
but Steel. Come on,
okay, fine.
No, young 1987 Ben Stiller was actually
man.
Was a
pretty he was a good-looking guy. He's a good-looking guy.
Okay.
But the vibe. The vibe. I mean, actually, before we talk about the sequels, a lot of props to Jason Patrick. I mean, he just embodies this moody, handsome, shirtless, young vampire hunk perfectly. And he went on to have he still acts now. He's still busy. He didn't die of a drug overdose.
Doing okay.
He's all right. He's done okay. So
and then one other quick thing was in Stranger Things, that character Billy Hargrove is apparently, it makes sense now, was almost a complete ripoff homage to Michael.
Yes.
Kid in town. Relationship, with Billy, him and Steve were sort of homoerotic in a sense like that. So the first sequel we get is actually in comic book form. This one is the one I didn't read. It's like The Lost Boys, The Reign of the Frogs, 4-issue Wildstorm series. I didn't read this one, but I know it takes place exactly 1 year before the first sequel. It sort of sets up the first sequel. So the first sequel came out in 2008 called The Tribe. Awful. Yet it did real well.
I've seen it. It's garbage.
Oh, you did? Yeah, it's garbage.
The only good thing about it is Tom Savini's in it for a hot second.
Yeah, literally the second in the beginning. Yeah, but it did really well in DVD because of what people were anxious. Oh, let's get a sequel to this, and it's 88. It's 11 years later.
I don't even really think of it's more of a pseudo reboot than really a sequel. Well,
we even have Kiefer's half brother Angus plays the head vampire here.
Angus Sutherland.
He's terrible.
Angus Sutherland.
No wonder he never had an acting career. He was horrible. We have Autumn Reeser, who's probably the only other famous name. So the whole idea is that we got Autumn Reeser and this other kid, I forgot the actor's name. They show up, their brother and sister. They show up at their aunt's house in Santa Carla. And the aunt's kind of a dick. She's like, I'm going to charge you rent. Hey, welcome. And to stay there. And they're named Emerson. It's never explained who they are, if they're related to the Emersons. It's not even implied if they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just their name. Last name has to be Emerson. And it's like, okay. Then someone's like, there's theory later. Oh, maybe they were a star in Michael's Kids. I'm like, I don't know about that. And but yeah, and so it's the whole thing they go through, seduction, and they try to get blah, blah, blah. Edgar shows, so we get Corey Haim shows up as Edgar Frog, who actually, he's sort of in and out. He's not in it a lot.
Corey Feldman.
No, sorry, Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman
comes in. It's awful.
When did this come out?
2008.
Okay.
2008. So then but we do get a mid-credit scene, which was really cool, I thought, where you see Corey Feldman on this like picnic bench in the middle of the night with just like the light hanging over him from like a street lamp. And then out of the dark comes Corey Haim.
Oh.
And they're like, they look at each other. It's like, we don't have to do this because I think we do have to do this. And you see that Corey Haim has been turned into a vampire. So that's the last thing of them about to run each other.
There's actually another version of that scene.
Yeah, there's two other versions. Of that scene, yeah.
There's another version. There's a version. The version that I saw. Actually, yeah, I think I've seen all three versions. Yeah. But the other version that I liked personally was they meet on the beach. It's actually during the day, and Corey Haim's basically like, he's coming, and you've got to do something about it. Yeah. And they're talking about Alan Frog, who's been turned into a vampire.
Yeah. Oh,
and Alan is actually like he's like driving in this muscle car with this girl sitting. So the windows are all blacked out. They're playing White Zombie.
Yeah, it's great. So that ends that one, and that film, it's horrible. So then we get to the 2010 sequel, The Thirst, and this is all Corey Feldman. So it's like this stars him. He's not just like like in the first one, he's like kind of playing the same thing. It's like, all right, fine. This one is definitely him. He's the lead. This is where we see, leading to what Jamal said, we see the flashback that he and his brother Alan are a lot more experienced in vampire hunters now because they're older. They've been doing it a while. But then in the middle of a fight, Alan gets forced to drink blood and turns into a half vampire, but then runs away because he doesn't want to live that life. So he has this friend named Zoe who works in a comic shop, and she's really cute and quirky. And then we get this DJ who's like trying to turn people into vampires through this, like his blood and this new drug, all this other stuff. There's a head vampire, blah, blah, so get this big fight at the end. And of course, Corey Feldman's character triumphs like that. But then we get at the end another little twist where Zoe, the cute little comic book girl who's a friend of his, who was like really fun. And they bring up the line they had from the first movie about like ghouls and zombies, or ghouls and monsters in the city council. And out of nowhere, Corey Feldman just starts this like speech about a werewolf. He's like, I heard she-wolves or blah, blah, this and that. And then she does the Michael Jackson Thriller look to the camera, where she looks right at the camera and her eyes change, suggesting she's a werewolf. I'm like, okay, all right, you guys settle down. So yeah, it was terrible.
I'm fine with just enjoying this one perfectly made film and not exploring it further.
Yeah. But
I gotta say the 20. Oh, sorry, go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say really quick. Before both of these were actually made, Joel Schumacher actually did want to make a sequel.
Yes, called The Lost Girls.
He wanted to make Lost Girls, and they were going to be like a girl biker gang. Like a vampiric girl biker gang.
Yeah.
But he never got to. I don't know why he never got to make it. But
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot why either. But that leads into what I was going to say. The 2017 comic by Tim Seeley from Vertigo. Actually, it was a 6-issue.
Oh my God! It was from Vertigo.
Seeley.
Good Lord.
Scott.
Wow, that was a different era. Rest in peace. Rest in power.
Yeah, for sure. This one I actually liked because it had I don't know, because that Lost Girl script went around Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
And so maybe he had a side, maybe he saw this because it has ideas, it seems, that would be from that. So it's a direct sequel to the first movie. Star's past comes back to haunt her with the Blood Bells. He's a female vampire gang kind of shows up, and Michael, Sam, and the Frongs find a way to fight them off. Somehow David survived because we never see him actually dead or in the movie. And he's clearly got the impalement marks, and the Blood Bells are going to save him, make him turn whole again or whatever. And then there's a whole bunch of like creepy little kid half vamps. Like imagine like multi-laddies running around.
The actual vampire Goonies.
Yes, but the best thing about it is Saxman appears. Saxman he is known as the Believer, and he is a vampire hunter. It's great. And the greatest thing is that he explains why he oils himself up, which is it's oil in holy water and garlic mix. So the vampire touches him. They start. I'm like, yes, that is brilliant. I love it. It's cheesy, but I love it. He ends up having to sacrifice himself, killing David, but still, it's like.
What's the Saxman's name?
The Believer.
Yeah, because the name of the song is "I Still Believe." That's
exactly,
awesome. Oh my God,
nice.
So good.
So
nice.
I suggest that. Actually, I really enjoyed. So, and then there was a novelization which goes further into it, but and now there's supposed to be a TV show.
Yes.
2020. That's the pilot was shot and scrapped.
I mean, everything's a TV show.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, the
go
actors
for
were
it.
recast. Some of the actors were recast. and apparently, obviously, it's been delayed because of.
Well, they didn't have Jimmy as the casting director.
Ridiculous.
But it does seem to have problems getting off the ground. So, in lieu of that, Jamal, you might not be familiar with this, but I tend to recast everything for a modern remake. And because I'm a former actor and of Asian descent, I tend to recast it very Asian or very ethnic. So
Right.
this was a very Asian 2020 remake of the and I'm gonna try to do the screen share thing here. Let me see if I can do it so I can.
Ooh, he did it. He did it.
Okay. Oh wait a minute. Did I add it yet? Have I done it
No.
yet? Oh no.
You're doing it. Charlie Brown is doing it.
Hold on. Let's see. Host disabled what? Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. That's you.
Oh, wait. I can probably change it. Host has
Yeah.
disabled it? Oh.
What it says. Oh no, I was all prepared and ready.
Oh no. Hold
How
on.
dare you?
Multiple. Oh, here we go. Multiple participants. Now can you do it?
Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, cool.
Damn, thank God.
So there we go. So for the first one, I have Jason Patrick, was 21 at the time, played Michael Emerson. So there's an actor, but he's an actor, but he's better known, of course, to the K-pop star. His name is Kai. You guys see him?
No, you gotta. No, you gotta hit the screen share button.
I did hit the screen share button. Oh, there we go.
You have to actually have it on your screen.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
that's Kai.
Yes. All
Jason
right.
Patrick Kai. So he's an EXO and Super M, the K-pop star.
Okay.
He's also an actor.
He is very pretty.
He has a great look, like a very vampiric look.
Yes.
For Corey Haim, I'm going to gender swap this to go to our lovely Moana. If you guys know Ollie Cravallo.
Oh yeah.
Very cool.
Moana. She's also done some acting as well as Sam Emerson. She'd be Samantha Emerson. Why not?
Nice. Jimmy, you can just hit the arrow and you should go to the next photo.
Oh no, but they're not in order. They're not.
Oh, okay. All right.
So next time I'll try to do it in order.
You gotta curate it better.
I know. That's hey, this is my first time. Give me a break.
I know, it's great.
I'm very impressed and excited.
I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed.
Kiefer Sutherland played David. We're gonna go with where is he? Boo Boo Stewart.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, so, recent X-Men movies. Also, works a lot. Diane Wiest, Lucy Emerson. I'm gonna go with Bae Duna. You've seen her in a lot of the Wachowski sibling stuff.
Oh yeah.
She's also
she's in Cloud Atlas.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so she's done a lot. Yeah, she'd be great. They're always trying to use around the same age that the actors were at the same time. So in the TV series, they switched it and made it the Frog Sisters. I figure I'll do the same, and I'm gonna rename them instead of Edgar and Allan. They're gonna be Mary and Shelley.
Yes.
Come on.
Nice. I like it.
Yes. I've got there's this cute new little film on Disney Plus called The Secret Society of Second Born Royals. And it's kind of sci-fi superhero-y. And the two stars that actually play sisters in that are Ashley Lau.
Okay.
Nice.
And also Peyton Elizabeth. What is her name? Peyton Elizabeth Lee. So she's young. So they could be the Frog Sisters. Be
nice.
Good.
Disney. They're in Disney, so that's good.
There you go. That's good. Right there you go. Jamie Gertz, iconic star, beautiful, lovely, and of course, Blackpink's first full album dropped at midnight. I got it.
Yes.
Jenny Kim from Blackpink. Look at that, even kind of a star outfit there.
Yeah.
A little Chanel outfit there. She's the first
nice.
In Korea.
Beautiful.
And what's a good another connection? Jenny and Kai. Remember him? Jason Patrick. They used to date. So they little tie in there. So Edward Herman is Max. We got to bring in the lovable Randall Park.
Yeah.
Great, That'd be awesome. Be really good. From Barnard Hughes, Grandpa. Let's bring him out of retirement. Fat.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but that would make Grandpa rescuing them a lot more potent.
It's true. Maybe some more fight scenes here, but yeah.
Yeah.
So rounding out the gang, the vampire gang, I've got a few here. We're gonna go with Chelsea Zhang here. She's in Titans right now. Recognize her from Titans. We're gonna have also Ryan Potter from Titans.
Good choice.
I think it'd be good. And also in not the best series, the new Warrior Nun, but she was great. Christina Tonteri Young played Sister Beatrice. She was the best thing about it, and she was a kick-ass fighter in that too. She was awesome. Just a few more here. We got to get it. So as little laddie, let's go to fresh off the boat, the youngest kid, Ian Chen.
Oh, laddie,
Yeah,
Oh.
little
laddie.
And as Tim Capello, our sax player, again, I want to gender switch because it's a real sax player. He's a real sax player.
Yeah.
A really well-known Asian sax player, and she is kick-ass. I've never seen her play. Grace Kelly.
Wow.
Yeah, she'd be awesome.
Wow.
You're doing those little moves would be great. And this is all to be directed by Justin Lin.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
All right. I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
All right. There we
Okay,
go.
now you're
But-
sharing
but-
your screen, Jimmy.
I
See,
know. But how
Careful,
do I
huh?
get? Now, how do I get?
No, you
y'all-
go
all
down
my
to
porn's
the.
hidden. Don't worry.
go to share
I'm-
screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but keep going.
But how is Michael Emerson, your friend Michael Emerson, not in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. You're right. How do I?
Maybe he should be grandpa.
Yeah, you're right. That's good. Fair enough. You're right. You know what? You're
No
right.
offense to his age.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or he could play the head vampire. He'd be great at that.
Yeah.
Oh, he'd of course you'd know he was evil right away.
Right.
But yeah, he'd be brilliant at that role.
So
yeah.
that is my. Let's hope the 2020 TV show. Maybe they'll make some.
So what's the panel's idea though? Do we want to see a TV sequel to this?
I mean, I'm open to give stuff a shot. Let's see what it looks like. I like the idea of the Frog Sisters. I like the
Yeah, honestly, it really depends on their approach because you can't replicate what Schumacher did. You have to, you have to find your own way. Take the concept, rework it, make it its own thing, and it could work,
I do hope it doesn't go the Teen Wolf route where it just becomes very serious. So there's some comedy in there.
That would be my fear. My other concern, honestly, would be in a post. What's the vampire show from HBO?
True Blood.
Oh, True Blood. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The post True Blood world. Can you really do the Lost Boys? I mean, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, there was that show on the CW that I really liked with vampires.
Oh, Vampire Diaries. Yeah.
Yeah, that show was pretty awesome,
Yeah.
except for the last season.
Everybody loves Van. I've never watched one episode. Or Supernatural. Are they vampires?
Too, right?
Are they vampires on Supernatural? What are they in there?
There
It's
are
everything.
vampire. There are
Supernatural
vampires.
is everything. It's
I've never seen an episode, but it
Yeah.
lasted for what, 18 years or something?
It's
So,
like
During their
I think you
15th
might dig it
season,
though.
yeah.
You might actually. 'cause
I
it's like-
don't have enough time. Not enough
Yeah,
time.
that's the thing. It's like I know it's a show I would love, but I still there's like 20 seasons. Yeah, I'm like I don't know. But yeah, didn't Vampire Diaries have a spin-off like the original?
Yeah, Legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy. There's a couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my fear too, because it's a CW show. I think is that it would just be totally serious, totally Vampire Diaries, totally this and that. Like, okay, I guess it could work, but I'd like to see it keep some of the comedy.
I mean, that is absolutely what makes this movie so magical. Is
But
the
I
fact,
think, like,
is
if
that
it was, oh, sorry.
no, just it's all different things. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
John. Go on.
No, that's what I like. That's kind of what the Vampire Diaries was. It wasn't all serious. It was pretty campy and
Okay.
fun at parts too.
Oh,
And-
well, see, I never watched.
and there was like there was like melodrama between like lovers and all this other stuff. So yeah, so if they're just trying to replicate that, but when it comes down to, I don't know if I really needed Lost Boys TV show. I think it like
I hear you. I hear what you're
I
saying.
think like what it was as it's encapsulated in this great movie, and I think that's great. But I mean, the comic book sound by Tim Seeley sounds awesome, so I would definitely want to
it's
read
fun.
that.
I could loan you that if you'd like. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that during this period where Vertigo was kind of like, oh, we're going to do IP for Warner Brothers movies, and like, oh, well, here's Lost Boys. Here's something we have sitting around. Why don't you do that? And they did. And it sounds like it turned out very well because obviously Vertigo did comics pretty well. And that's it. I'd actually forgotten about that, but now there's no Vertigo. So
No.
goodbye.
I'd have to say, totally off topic. I noticed this early on, but I wanted to wait. Great T-shirt, Jamal.
Oh, thank
I
you.
was like, he's got a Wonder shirt on. Yeah, the Oneaters, the Wonders. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that
very,
film.
very nice.
I've seen it since a lot.
No, it's good times. It's a good movie.
Awesome.
I have go on, Jimmy. I wanted to bring up something from last week, though. I had a little note. Just
So that
last
show's over. Sorry.
last
Go.
week we did Hail Caesar, our first time saying a Coen Brothers movie, and then afterwards, which it was such a great conversation. I enjoyed watching. I was like, oh, let me watch Buster Scruggs. It's very depressed last week.
Oh no.
Mm.
Wrong move. Wrong
really?
move. I don't know who's
Wow.
seen the Ballad of
haven't.
Buster Scruggs.
I haven't. I know it's on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, so you guys don't well, no spoilers, but boy, talk about unhappy. There's 6. It's an anthology of 6. I can't even do this. I mean, 6 different stories, and all but one do not have happy endings.
Oh,
So not, but it's very
I'm
well
not,
done.
I'm not in that place right now.
No, big mistake. Wait till 2021. Do not watch the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Awesome. All right, so Heidi and I have actually blocked out October for Comic Beat Insider. So this was the first one of that, Lost Boys. So next week.
Oh yes, so next week is right. My next week is my show. We're going to talk about Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, one of the greatest TV shows
I've known of it for years,
all times. As I ran
this week. Yeah.
What about has anyone here ever seen Garth Marenghi? Oh
no, I haven't.
The Poob on the Pipe. Poob on the Pipe.
I guess I'll find out what that means when I watch it. Great. So as I was gonna say, like we alternate each week who sort of picks the topic, and it's not always it's 95% movies we do, but sometimes we do comics and we do interviews. Like we interviewed Jamal and Kwanzaa a month or so ago. But
a month or so ago, that was June.
Yeah,
but,
June. Oh my God. Well, yeah. Well, that's a couple months ago. You're right. Yeah. Oh my God. It's all
October now.
Yeah. Everyone's changed oh Jesus Christ. Everyone's
Leaves
changed
are
their Twitter
dying.
names to their scary Halloween name. I'm gonna change my Twitter name to 2020. That's
what?
My scary Halloween name. My scary Halloween name is 2020.
Oh.
No. So then a week after that, I chose to do Beetlejuice. Which I could have picked any Tim Burton film, but I was like, let me go with this one.
Let's just start at the top. Yeah.
Comedy.
Then the week after, on the 23rd, we're going to talk about Roger Corman and the Mask of the Red Death. And funnily enough, today, after certain news about our POTUS, I've seen memes from Mask of the Red Death everywhere on social media. So
I did a horrible Poe musical about Poe where I played.
Yes. So, but yeah, from this film, very iconic. So one of the great Halloween movies.
And then ending off October the 30th, I had sort of zombie retrospective, but I think I'm going to narrow it down to maybe Train to Busan and its prequel. And if I can get my hands on the sequel, because it's out in theaters for some reason. Why is it out in theaters, the sequel, Peninsula? And it's a foreign film. You think that would do great on streaming. It probably would have. And they decided to put it in theaters. I'm like,
talk about horror.
What are you talking about? So that'll be October. But
to make sure you don't miss a single episode, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes, hit the thingy. Hit the thingy.
And like us, get notifications, because that's a thing.
Yeah. But also, before we bounce, I do want to mention my run-in with Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh yes.
So I was at a bar one night, allegedly. All this
a dark and
happened.
stormy night.
That's right. We're at the old Deacon Brody's and walked in and I'm sitting up front with a friend having a drink, and then we're just hanging out up there by ourselves, and everyone else sort of in the back of the bar. It wasn't a busy night, and fucking from the back comes Kiefer Sutherland. Allegedly might have had a few drinks in him, and walks up, sees us. He goes, "You two are the coolest motherfuckers in here," and walks out. He goes, "What?" And I'm like, did fucking Jack Bauer just say? I was like, "What?" And we were so it was hilarious. So, comes walking back in, comes back up to us. "You guys are awesome." So we stand up, start talking to him, and I'm just like, "Kiefer, you're the best, dude. You're awesome. They love you." He goes, "Dude, you." Grabs my face, grabs my hand, starts kissing my hand. Allegedly, he's like, "You are the best, man. You are awesome." Pre-COVID, this is like years ago. You are awesome, dude. You are so cool. I'm like, "You're awesome, dude. What are you talking about?" So I got a little picture. Maybe a little picture. It's a really grainy picture my friend took, but it's still nonetheless got a little picture together. But yeah, I was like, wow. I feel like I was just the Lost Boys. Maybe he seduced me to join the Lost Boys.
New York will never die.
Yeah.
This is
New
true.
York will never die.
Very true.
Yeah. So I think I'm a vampire now. So
Vampire, because
I will go with that. I would run with that story.
Yeah.
I haven't made my first kill.
Yeah. So you're half vampire.
Yes.
You know what, man?
I'm half Kiefer.
That's a great story. That's a great story. So.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, it happened. Yes,
Allegedly.
might have, you know,
It happened.
fables,
Anyway.
fables of the theater district.
That's right. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And the thousands in the chat, we sorry we didn't get to your questions. Hit us up later. We'll answer them. But also, this will also be available on comicnewsinsider.com's audio podcast. Besides watching this on YouTube as well, you can check it out. But some people like just on the train, checking it, listening to things. So
We're all
there you go.
medium,
Why
all
offer it?
medium.
There you go. But again, thanks for listening. This is Jimmy Aquino of Comic News Insider, the weekly podcast covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture. You can find us at comicnewsinsider.com. John's a big part of the show, helps review a lot. We're recording our 1100th episode tomorrow. Producer Joe and I. Thank you. All of you have been involved in the anniversary in the before time of the anniversary episode. We did live at a bar, which another sad loss at the bar I usually shoot at, just closed down. The restaurant, Hourglass Tavern. Tip your 40s out to a great place and the great owners that are friends of mine. But yes, you can find me online. I'm just at Jimmy Aquino, JIMMYAQUINO.
And I'm Heidi McDonald of The Beat at comicsbeat.com. And you can find me on all social media at Comixace, COMIXACE. I love Halloween. We are just getting started. Like as we go through this every week, you're going to see more and more Halloween as Stately Beat Manor is taken over for October.
And when do we get to Christmas for me?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right, John?
You can find me on social media anywhere at JONHOCHE.
And also on Comic News Insider every week, sending the reviews, and we do some one-on-one. We got one coming up. We're going to review the final season or the finale of The Boys coming up. We're going to talk about soon. But always. And Jamal?
Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Jamal Igle, JAMALIGLE. So that's Facebook, Twitter, and at my own website. And come follow me on Twitter. I'm told that I'm entertaining.
He is wildly entertaining. So
awesome.
All right. Well, until next week, we're Comic Beat Insider.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Death by Stereo.